So we have a question from John. Can your module be adapted for O gauge AC locos? I hope that people can hear me now because if not, I mean, if it's not, yeah, please let me know. Then I can try to answer on the chat itself. So for the AC, yes, it can be adapted. But this all you need to have a bridge rectifier to convert AC voltage into DC, and you need a filter capacitor. So O gauge, I believe there should be plenty of space because the capacitor is relatively large, and that's one of the reasons that those things do not fit in like HO. Because we even have in HO gauge and HO scale, we have people who run on old style DC, which gives like pulsed power, which is DC, but it is still pulsed. And LocoFi will not work with that. It works on clean, straight voltages. So yeah, so we kind of recommend that as an external solution. Um, but for O gauge, I believe having this capacitor and the bridge rectifier inside the loco should be possible. Okay, we had a visitor here. Now, other thing could be uh, if you really want all your locomotives to be on LocoFi, then you can just supply. You have your AC supply there, your power supply. You just put a bridge rectifier right in front of it with a filter capacitor and give the straight DC input to the layout. So that could be. Uh, does that answer your question, John? Uh, okay, we have. One more minute. Right, I guess we're live now. So, so we will continue our discussion from our previous session where we showed consisting the two locomotives you see there. Uh, we uh, we said that we have another locomotive you can see in the track there, which is an SB78, and we can try to consist that as well along with the other locomotive. Let's try to get that locomotive out and put that in consist as well. Let me share my screen, the phone screen here. Right, right. Let's roll the process looking forward. Get the 70 days out. We are doing that. I'm gonna okay. Not move forward. I'll bring the consist around and put it in the inner loops so that you can give me a second. Fix that. The smaller radius kernels are really tricky for larger locomotives, so uh, I have to go slow. Invert it a little bit. Yeah. Right. It's 60. Yeah. All right. So before we configure the speed table for the ST70 Ace, we um, if anyone joining us now, if they want to know exactly the features of LocoFi, please let me know. I'll just demonstrate uh, the basics of like, just a single locomotive, a demo of its run. I know our website has pretty old videos where we actually try to fill with so-called like uh, the worst running locos, and they also kind of run great with LocoFi, especially the really old blue boxes, and they were mostly second hand, so they did not have good like gears and stuff inside, and they would kind of take off pretty quickly and slow down very quickly. With these newer locomotives, a much smoother process. And so as you can see, we have uh, some pretty basic features here. The RPM, the speedometer, the horn bell, throttle. So we can configure some of these things. I'll just go over the features once more here. First is auto reverse lights. We talked about it last time. Where uh, um, if we toggle this on, we come back, you will see the rear light is now disabled. If I switch on the front light, it will just uh, I can't switch the rear light now. And if I go into reverse, the rear light would come on and the front light would go off. This is the automatic reversal of light. And I usually don't keep it on, but it was one of the requested features. And then there is this feature of reverse light. So reverse lights direction is if you wide your lights the other way, like the front and the rear lights are reversed. You don't have to rewire those lights once you put the LEDs in place and everything. All you do is check the setting on and lights will be reversed. Another thing is the reverse engine direction, which is very similar to reverse engine light. So if you wire the motor direction the opposite, like the red and the black in the gray wire, the orange and the blue wire, you could. And actually, I have seen some locomotives which kind of came with the just the opposite color coding. And reversing them was a breeze when you toggle the setting on. And I think that was the case with this locomotive as well. And then we have this auto connection on auto stop and connection loss, which is your locomotive loses connection and it will automatically stop. Now we can set the scale. For example, if you're O scale, you can set whatever scale you have, S scale, G scale, whatever suits you. You can set the scale, and this would be really helpful when setting up scale speeds and doing some consistent if you want to, or just trying to use your like timetable to run the trains or anything similar. It's very customizable. I mean, you can even have a scale of 1:103 or whatever. So, and we translate all those things into kilometers per hour if you wish. And as you can see, like for example, we have the max display speed now. Actually, um, it's at 25. If you do that, um, it shows the values in kilometers per hour. And let's get miles per hour. It changes to 15 because we just change the units. Uh, so this is just a display aspect, display speed. We can have a max speed step and a start speed step that you want to configure to your convenience. And this was something which comes from our previous version of the app, and we have moved well beyond that now to actually set up the scale speed, and that is most likely what we would want, and that becomes enabled. Let me actually confirm, enable consistent, and enable consistent, you can set up your you need to set up your speed table, and you can have different track voltages, different layouts. You can set up a profile for your track voltage, and separate profile for your club track voltage, and a third profile for your friend's home layout voltage. And you can just carry the locomotive around, change the speed profile, and those speed table would come into effect. And for the speed table, the motor speed table is almost linear. It's not exactly linear. So if you just want to have a simple simulation of speed table, you can just have a simple one-step procedure. Set up the start speed step and just one speed step over here, and you're done. If you want a finer control over speed, for now we have added a 7-speed table, and later we will be expanding it to as many steps as you really want, like really fine grained. And for now, the scale speeds are rounded off to the nearest integer, but we will be introducing decimal scale speeds, which really could be really useful because as the motor warms up and the lubrication gets going, and the mechanical characteristics change, and we can actually uh, have great differences after running the locomotive for some time. Let's start setting up the speed table. I'm gonna use 16.5 volt, which is the track voltage I have here, and I'm gonna bring the locomotive to the straight section over there. Right about here, and slowly bring the start speed down to the point. Locomotive is falling. Come here. Setting up the start speed step is the first step in the setting up of the speed table, because if you don't have this right, uh, then the other calculation will not be correct as well. And start speed step is effectively just changing the slider to a position when the locomotive barely starts to move. It just overcomes the mechanical friction and starts to roll. I believe 11, I mean, rather be trying it to, yeah, just about right. And set up a delay, which kind of simulates the locomotive just starting off. It takes, especially if it's heavy loaded train, and it takes a little while before it starts off. Uh, yeah, so you just kept it at a number 4. Now to set up the speed table, we can, if you see these yellow boxes, these indicate that we have provided a convenient way for you to calculate your scale speed by timing uh, the locomotive running on a test track length. Or if you have a proper speedometer, you could use that and straight away enter the scale speed here, and you're good to go. For now, I'm going to demonstrate using with a test track length. So I'm just going to enter the test track length of my layout here, small layout here, 15 feet, and just you know speed up the locomotive to kind of come around and come to the yellow mark. You can see in our screen live stream too. There is a yellow pencil just behind the Union Pacific on the inner loop, and that's kind of where I start my timer and end it once the loop is complete. So to bring this locomotive around quickly, I'm just going to use a higher speed step and start timing it. Oh, okay. Now I started, and we have the timer ready, the stopwatch. And as it crosses the front of the loco crosses the yellow pencil mark there, I'm just going to start timing and end it once it comes back. So the first and the second speed second are the slowest. Can need to wait, and probably the most critical too. Uh, and once these are done, the other speed steps are pretty fast. It takes in a few seconds, and that's there is 2 seconds of the speed table. All you need to do is uh, just a couple of clicks, and the consist will be set up. So we'll just wait for this to come around. You. So, meanwhile, I mean, while we're waiting, if there is anything else, any other questions here, please feel free to ask in our chat section here. We're live, we're broadcasting here at the world's greatest hobby online show. Glad to be here. After a long time, long break from the clean shows. We wanted to get back in really soon. So this is being a really slow locomotive here. Wow, this is uh, really gonna take some time. It's not really falling slow. With this consisting, you don't really need to have locomotive from same manufacturer or similar speeds or anything like that. You can just have consistent with your consistent locomotive from small switchers from paddlers, partners, Genesis, and some green line, and all these different locomotives together and they come out to be and so to complete the loop here, coming around. Yeah, it comes out to 3 minutes and 31 seconds. It's slower than the previous 44. It's gonna be 108, 11 seconds. Alright, go back to 111, it's about 4 miles per hour. We will lock it for now. And these are the speed steps where we actually really need, decimal speeds, because those are what seem to trying to make all the difference. And, that would be coming up in the future. It's not gonna make much of a difference for now, but yeah. And let's bring it around for our second speed step. I'm doing it real close. And start the time. Alright, I was crossing the yellow pencil mark here. You can see behind the UP on the inner loop. There we go. Started the timer. Speed step 1 and 2 are the slow ones, especially 1, which is you have to do it about 3 minutes or 4 minutes. The rest of the stuff is pretty fast. So almost halfway through. Please feel free to post your question on the live chat here. The live at LocoFi. Show you the cool way to run your locomotives. It's really fun and uh, makes it really prototypical, realistic, with sound, customizable DC, on really no setup, on wireless Wi-Fi, no investments. You go, 1 minute, 23 seconds, 83.38. Yeah, 11. Yeah, and then start the timer. We're live here, showing setting up a speed table uh, before consisting. So it essentially is setting up scale speeds, and it's a very user-friendly way of setting up speed table where you just click and do nothing else. There we go. 29.09. That 29.29. 31. 6 again. To kind of bring it around the loop quicker. Alright, we started that in time. Speed step number 4. Alright, 16.73. Let's start with the speed step number 5 with a few seconds. We are trying to simulate similar conditions for taking the readings so that because The readings tend to come out different if the locomotive has been running for some time. And, mhm, start up, and right, let's put one more. Okay, yeah, let's have physically. I think I missed it. Clicking the stopwatch and time. So, oh, I keep doing that. Let's see that start with right. Yep, started in time, and 11, and 11.17. Right. Let's see. Like the slow speed steps are really slow, and the high speed steps are like really decent speed here. This is step number 6, and we have only one more to go, and we will be done with this 9.93. And we will reset it so that I don't have to miss setting up the speed table. And this speed number, speed, speed step number 7, and now. Alright. Sometimes you may want to take 2 or 3 readings instead of take an average. If you want 9.18, 7. Alright, so we will set the max to, let's say, 70. So another thing that this consistent does is when you set up the lead locomotive, which has a maximum speed of, let's say, a switcher maybe 40 or 50 miles an hour, and the other locomotives are say going well past 100. Um, when you consist, the maximum speed limit gets set to the locomotive which has the lowest speed because that's the max we can achieve. So, and, if we okay, now we have a message from Alco John, and uh, he's been a great customer of ours, and he's done some pretty good testing with the amp drawing stuff like that for O scale, and he uh, and uh, and for the locomotive he tested, it turned out that the amp draw was more than the 2 amps. That's the max amperage, well, the highest amperage that any module offers. Uh, yes, that is true. And but we do have some even like G scale customers which even take even higher amps, but of course Many of them are engineers, like electrical engineers, and they actually use their own motor drivers. It's all about that, and um, that's one of our next projects is to work on the O-scale system, which basically will incorporate a motor driver which will offer higher amps and should be uh, more suitable kind of a system there, rather than adapting the current one. Unless you kind of know what you're doing, if you want to set up your own edge driver, edge bridge for the motor. So, thank you, Uncle John. All right, so we have here. We just gonna leave the notches at 8 table is set up, go back and just back it up a little bit. Uh, you guys can probably not see, but I just backed it up a little bit and you know bring out the consist. You can see this consist is indicated in the upper left hand corner by like this three locomotive symbol, and a single locomotive is represented by the single locomotive, and the green background indicates that you have the like latest app and the firmware. And if it was an orange or a red, you might consider upgrading to the latest app. And if you press do a long press, you can actually see the list of all the locomotives in the consist. Right, so we're just gonna back it up a little bit. So I'm gonna do it slowly. These bigger locomotives tend to do the wrong thing with the notes, which is symptom derailment. In other words, which we have to tell with them. We've entered here and let's release. Let's delete this consist and reconsist with the side locomotive. So it deletes the consist, it's going to shut down the locomotives and just a couple of seconds here, the locomotive should come back. All right, there we have. Before we go and set up the consist, we have a question from Jason. Hello, I had a question. You might have answered earlier. Will your decoders provide both sound and DCC options for older DC Bachmann spectrum tuning? I, I, well, LocoFi modules are not DCC at all. They can run on DCC track power, and that's about it. We just draw the power, uh, and they have nothing in common with DCC. This is all Wi-Fi direct locomotive control. So does have sound, comes with sound, and comes with customizable sound that you can customize. You don't have to rely on us or any other manufacturer. Now, we have third party people who can contribute the sounds, and you just copy those sound files onto your micro SD card, which is on board the module, and you have your specific sounds. We have customers who have customized their own sounds, and they're starting to uh, contribute, you know, um, for the general uh, LocoFi sound like this. And yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question here, but yeah, it's not DCC, so there is not going to be any DCC option there. But yeah. Moving on, we um, let's reconsist locomotives and create consist. We select. We have the lead is the ES44, and the NSF is in the middle, and this is in the left. They're all forward facing. I could set it up in reverse if you want. If you have, set it up in reverse, just let's say reverse. And the consist here. So you should see these um, success messages here. So refresh, and here's while it's refreshing here live here at LocoFi. So if you have any questions, please post them in the chat, and we'll be glad to answer. This is if you want any kind of demo from us, we have a demo layout here where we can show you the features of LocoFi. We have tons of videos on our website, install videos as well as operating videos. Actually, we may have still less number of videos than the kind of features we actually offer. So if you have any specific thing you might be looking for, I'll be glad to give you a demo. So please ask. I'm just showing you the consisting feature right now, which is something we'll be releasing very shortly. It's in the final stages of testing, and I'm assuming like most if you're familiar with the general concept of LocoFi, so I'm just showing you just the advanced features here. So I say manage here. You can see this is the consist. This is how it looks. The lead loco and helper locos would be kind of below the smaller font here. Manage. Let's fire up the email. Right, so we have on, right. So in the earlier session towards the morning, we consisted the two locomotives. You will see very soon in your view. Within a couple now, and this is the third one we just configured, and just to kind of demo, we'll just space it a little behind, and Let's see the different speeds here. I will not be going too fast here on the demo layout here. These bigger locomotives, they tend to derail on the turnouts here. Um, as you can see, I think there's a couple of inches of extra gap now that it has. We have done like 2 or 3 loops of about 15 feet here. Um, this should be fixed in like, uh, maybe not the next update, but one of the uh, updates we will be pushing out. It will contain even the decimal speeds, decimal scale speeds. I mean, for because for a loop of for if you the locomotives have traveled like 30 feet or so, and there is 1 or 2 inch of gap, uh, which is kind of closing in or extra. I think that should be acceptable, you know. And so we have this 3 locomotives consisted now. I mean, it was just a couple of steps there. So I hope many of you have requested these features. You will certainly like it. That's the real thing. You hardly see any single locomotive train out there in real. So this should be something that make modern railroading more fun. And we have obviously we have a website and you can find all kinds of information related to uh, the LocoFi technology and products and all kinds of frequently asked questions, resources, install guides. I think at slower speeds, you will see they have been closing the gap. So as it goes through different sections of this demo layout, I think the wheels, the curves, the kind of make the locomotive go slower or faster. It's like the average speed does come out to be about the same. So, all right. So another thing I would like to share with you is me uh, show you something real quick here is uh, install section here. Now, one of our most popular locomotives that our module gets installed in are the Athens ready to roll or blue boxes. Like, uh, like really so much of them that we actually did many installs, especially on those because they were probably the hardest to kind of and something they needed that the motor be isolated, and it's always a tricky thing because you have to kind of pull the motor out and then put that sticky tape in there to kind of isolate the motor. And we have nice videos to show, older blue boxes and the newer ready to run and ready to roll locomotives. However, if you will look towards the end of those videos, you will find that after the module is kind of wired up together, I like we have shown that we just kind of taped it all up and kind of um, put it all together in one just package and just kind of squished it into place. Uh, but looking at the kind of demand we have been getting for these, we actually decided to come out with like something like a physical mount. So we designed a 3D printed mount, which settles this for uh, uh, once for all. So, for example, I think we have done a install of this conrail here. It's in ready to roll locomotive. I've removed the module with the DDLLHA. And one more thing, the mount is for DDLLHB for now. I will be coming out with mount for DDLLHA because we had more demand for DDLLHB, the 1 amp decoder, not the 2 amp, and that's slightly larger too. So the 3D mount just goes in these the top motor clips we have with these plastic things that are coming around. It just fits right in, and the module kind of goes here. And give me a second here. Just kind of the module here, and speaker may go inverted or front side up, and just wire up everything. And there are like holes here you can see where you can all these motor wires and the power wires can kind of come right through these holes, and you solder your connections and bundle all these wires up here, and you can now have like a tape or something, and you will have a much cleaner install. We'll be putting up these mounts for sale very soon. I mean, it will be not very obviously expensive or anything like that. It's uh, just out of demand we kind of did that. So, and any other like these RTRs we have, uh, this is already wired up. This also has actually a battery in it. It's another project we're working on. But this has a similar mount, and we obviously have these blue boxes. They also have the same mount. So this mount is actually gonna fit on any of these. So when you're ordering like a module for one of these locomotives, uh, you might want to consider getting one of these. it should be helpful. We have a question from Elko John. Hi, Elko John. I hope you are there now. I just oh, great, great, great. Thank you. Uh, this is the mounting bracket is for the HO scale right now, but we'll be offering it for other scales too if there is like a consistency in uh, the design, like in the internals of the locomotive. These Athon ready to roll and blue boxes have a very similar design, and they were also one of the most popular locomotives people install or modules in. So that's why we chose 3D design. Now, uh, for your other question, Steam Sounds, yes, that's our next project. Safety stall, I am not sure. You probably missed the demo here, but I'm just going to go back right after this 3D mount I'm talking about, and I will show you the safety features, and you will you will see how it works. And this will be all released together. I've been, like we've been kind of clubbing it all up together, all these features consisting safety stops, emergency stops, and all this. Maybe we should have rolled it out on a regular basis, but we just kind of clubbed it all together. And you say, oh, great, RS2O scale should be ready for test running in about 2 weeks. Oh, that's great. That's good to know. I am looking forward to that. And let's go back to uh, uh, the new dashboard, which shows the emergency stop and the connection loss and those kind of things. Give me a second here. All right. So this is the new dashboard. It has this small little on the bottom left called emergency stop. Now, what does this stop do? So this is something you can initiate by yourself. For example, you might see a couple of, a locomotive might end up, bumping into something or something that you didn't intend to do. You just hit the emergency stop. It applies like hard brakes. I'm just gonna, yeah, I'm just gonna fire up the engine and show you this. And then we have another feature, which is like, let's say our controller app lost the connection to the locos for some reason. There's a weak signal or something, whatever. And the locos are astray now. So in that situation, even hitting the emergency stop will not work because there is no connection there. So we have an option in the configure panel which is auto stop and connection loss. If this option is checked, locomotives will automatically stop if there is a connection loss. Uh, why we gave it as an option is because there may be some situation where you may not actually want to have it. For example, you may anticipate your locomotive going in a tunnel and a signal lost there. So you don't want your locomotive to get stuck in the tunnel. In that case, even if there is a signal loss for a brief moment, you still want your locomotive to come out nice and smooth. Uh, so let's get these locomotives running, and then I'm gonna just it stops them right in the tracks. this emergency stop. And you will see the RPM and the speed actually don't go down, because this is just a temporary measure where you can just resume uh, the same previous situation you were in. For example, the moment I release the emergency stop, you just start running right at the same speed. But if you hit emergency stop, you can bring the speed down if you want to. Speed is zero now. You hit the emergency stop, the locomotive will remain stopped. So we have two ways um, to stop the locomotives by way of emergency stops. Uh, I do know that many many people do not know these two options. They don't use it very frequently. There is momentum and inertia, which is kind of set to a pretty high values by default, and so people, I think that they don't stop it very quickly. Uh, I would say that if you really want, you can just lower them down, and that should also give you a more precise control. But we try to have a bigger momentum and coast to kind of simulate the real locomotive. Uh, so Alcojon, I hope uh, you like the new feature of auto connection loss and the emergency stop. So talking about the install, we were just talking a while ago. We have had even some N-scale customers where they installed the smaller, the BDLLHP board into a trailing boxcar. Obviously, the boxcar will always need to be attached to the locomotive, but locomotive is pulling the power from the tracks. The wires go back to the boxcar, and the motor output and the light output comes back from the boxcar into the locomotive. And so you don't have to really house the board into the locomotive. But you do need to have that boxcar all the time for you. We are also planning for a custom N scale board, uh, not very immediate, uh, but it's also on our roadmap. But for those who people have been asking us, for N scale quite a bit. So if they are okay with this kind of a solution, that could be a way to go. And those some of those customers also actually end up adding a battery pack in the trailing boxcar, so you don't even have to rely on the track power. You uh, just have everything in the boxcar, and just the motor output and light output goes to the locomotive. There is no track power coming back into the boxcar. That's another alternative. Uh, so, yeah, so we are live here at World's Greatest Hobby Online Film Show. We're glad to be presenting here. And if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. Uh, and yeah, we're here live. We can give you a demo if you want. Any features you want to see that uh, the operation of the locomotive. We just showed you consisting. Uh, First we consisted two locomotives. Now we did the third one, and we can have a consist of up to 8 locomotives. They can be a mix and match from different manufacturers. a switcher, a bigger locomotive, and all that, and they will all run in unison. Uh, so we are very glad to be bringing out this feature very soon. Uh, it was quite a bit of work there. Right. Um, yeah. If there are any more questions, please feel free. Looking for good question. We are in our final stages of testing, and we wouldn't be giving you a demo if we didn't have it ready. But we are always being cautious about releasing our updates. We want to maintain a very high standard of quality. Uh, like the LocoFi depends on the controller app, the app that runs on the smartphone. So we don't want the app to break in any scenario. So we are testing all kinds of scenarios, especially now that consisting is released. Uh, the number of cases to kind of test out becomes exponential. We want to make sure we have covered every aspect. We are not breaking any older functionalities and things like that. So the testing is very important part of our release, and we are just working on that. And we are very close. That's why we are giving you a demo here. Yeah, it should be soon. Uh, yeah, the Steam is definitely a few months away. But the moment we release it, we will get on to actually working on Steam with full Steam. So, if you have any more questions, please feel free. Uh, well, that's great to hear about Reading Club. Yeah, I would. Uh, we should be able to release the update by then, but again, if there are bugs during testing, we have to fix them before we can release the applications. And that's what we have been pretty much battling with, uh, like fixing bugs, and some of them are like really hidden problems, and we have to really it takes time to investigate and fix them. So, I'm gonna switch back to stop sharing this phone screen here. And one thing I'm not sure if before I stop sharing this, let me show you one more thing here. Uh, LocoFi is a multi-engineer, um, multi-local apps, and we have so the dashboard you're looking at is for Engineer 10 here, and we have another phone here, another app which shows that this locomotive is being operated by Engineer 10. So now if I was to pick up another locomotive and say, okay, I want to manage this, you will see that uh, the live video one that it updates to Engineer 06 over there. So as to say manage this one, you would see that in the live stream 2 here that the first ATS set is being managed by Engineer 10 and so on. So while a locomotive is running, we can just release the locomotive temporarily and transfer and hand over to another engineer if we want. Um, that's some of the features. I mean, if you want, I can demo that here. Let me bring these start it up. I'll back them up a little bit. So I'm just gonna go back here, release it, manage it, and I can just start managing from this folder. I hope the screen is visible because I see some light, uh, blinding lights running on the show. Uh, go back here, release it, manage it, and stop it. And you can keep doing this. So you can do like multiple engineers, multiple trains, and uh, you can control the train you want. So, and let me go through some of the other features about this emergency stop L code I was talking about. Is if you go to settings here, we have introduced a new setting which is set emergency stop activation pressure. So usually when operating with smartphone, you can accidentally just lightly touch this and the trains would come to a stop. You don't want that. So obviously when the trains are running, uh, you can't accidentally hit this stop button because this is disabled. You can't throw the reverser or anything like that. But you can accidentally always hit the emergency stop and the train would stop. But with uh, with this feature of uh, the pressure sensitive feature we have introduced, where you can actually set the pressure of your emergency button. So with a slight touch, nothing would happen. Only if you press really hard, it really activate if you set it up that way. If you want it to be activated on a lighter pressure, just tap the emergency button lightly over here, and those settings will come into effect. So that's another feature that we introduced. We have a question from Will fan of Frank B. Can this be installed in American Flyer equipment on AC or only if set up for DC? That's a very good question. We just answered it a while ago about three rail. Uh, so that also works on AC. So if you have enough space in your locomotive, you can have a bridge rectifier and a filter capacitor, and the track power that's coming in could be rectified and filtered to a pure DC, and that power supply can be used for the module. Uh, the only question would be probably the current rating. So if your motor is rated for 2 amps or less, then you're good to go. Just in case if you want to have all your locomotives on, let's say, LocoFi, then you could just have your AC power and just have a bridge rectifier right at the, uh, you know, where it feeds the track, and the filter capacitor in series, and the whole track would be just having straight DC. Uh, I hope that answers the question. And let's see, we have we have 17 more minutes before we go on the second break. Uh, uh, let's see. Uh, is that better? I'm sorry that if that was a problem so far. Can you hear me now? I have a microphone button right up to my neck, so it should have been. The first session was okay. I think the second session is maybe you. Can you hear me now? I just tried changing some settings here. I'm somewhat new to this. Right. So I answered the question about AC earlier as well for the O scale three rail. So for AC, American Flyers are somewhat larger engines, so they should be able to house a bridge rectifier and a filter capacitor, because filter capacitors are kind of somewhat larger. So maybe a 50 volt, 4700 microfarad capacitor and a bridge rectifier of 2 3 amps. I mean, if that's the current rating, I believe should be 2 amp module plus a combination of these two things uh, could go easily inside the locomotive, and that should be good enough. So you could just have AC power coming from your tracks, rectified, filtered, and fed to the module. That should That should be good. I hope the motor will work on DC, because uh, AC motors are typically used like only for larger setups. So I hope, because AC motors will not run good on DC alone. So, but yeah, it should be doable. I hope I answered your question now. If not, I'll be glad to answer it again. I'll just check my settings again and see if my microphone is acting up or something like that. Yeah, thank you. Right. So we have 13 more minutes. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to post it on the chat. We are live here at World's Greatest Hobby Online, and we really wish to make it a really great hobby, and moving really into the future, when it's more fun to operate cranes, more realistic, uh, and yeah, more prototypical. To stay update with, um, you can go to our website and sign up for our product updates. Go to the contact section. If you wish to purchase, we are going to release consistent. So we are actually running a consistent special where if you purchase two or more modules, you get at least 20% off. And yeah, and, and there's a wealth of information, there's resources, the local for technology itself, and there's tons of videos, customer testimonials, and frequently asked questions that should help out a lot understanding. I'm here to give you a demo of anything you would like. We have a demo layout here. We have six locomotives. Three of them are consistent right now. You can break the consist, make the consist, whatever you want to do. And I can give you a demo of a single locomotive or anything, any other feature you would want to see. Please feel free to post it in the chat. I hope I wasn't completely on mute. Yes, we do plan to have Steam modules. That would be our next project actually, to incorporate the Steam sounds into our modules. And even though the sounds themselves are user customizable, but this version, uh, it's not possible to use Steam sounds. And so it will need to be a separate module in itself. and hopefully the newer module would be able to support both steam and diesel, whichever way you wish. And yeah, uh, give us a few months and we should be out with the steam module very soon. Again, we are live here, so if there are any questions, any demos, uh, or even our website may probably have more older information. If you have anything right now, we're live here. So we'll give you a demo, answer any questions. Sure, thank you. You can always come back, and if you want any specific demo, I would be glad to give you a demo uh, operating session here. Yes, we will be adding more light features, like more lights in general, more outputs to our modules. So you could uh, set up a cab light and so forth. Yes. Uh, I mean, the amount of features that we can have in our modules is literally endless. We are just at the beginning of this journey, and we'll be adding many more features uh, in the coming months and years. So, yeah. Sure. Yes, of course. Uh, yeah, the Firefox Lite for the Steam Liquid too. Yeah, 3 more minutes for our break. So if you have any other question, we're here. We can come back and uh, we'll do that will be the final session, I believe. Uh, yeah, that would be 2 hour session, and you could just I could give you more demos if you would like to have me do any switching or policies, maybe 3 more locomotives. I'll be glad to show that. Uh, I believe I might have showed you the new configure panel here, where you can have the scale and the speed units, and how we can set scale speeds for different profiles and so forth. So this is how you set up a speed profile, speed table, and once your speed table is set up consistently, just a couple of clicks. All right, we'll be uh, ending this session and coming back at 1:30 again, uh, Pacific time. See you there. Okay.